So it's not a great day. I got a message from one of my staff members here that he had found the carcass of a bushbuck on the estate. Having an incident like this is not all doom and gloom. It is an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to understand a lot more about what's going on. Yeah, it's a bushbuck that I'm kind of familiar with. I've been seeing him around quite a lot. He's quite an old boy. It's actually one of the ones that we introduced here a few years ago. And took a drive down here to come and have a look and see, just analyze the situation. But it's a great opportunity to actually share with our viewers quite an interesting process and a train of thoughts and processes that one goes through in analyzing a situation like this. So what we wanted to look for first was the cause of death, and one of the first signs that one always looks for is predation, some form of predation, where you got your cat predators, your dog style predators, which typically kill in different ways, and typically your cats would go for a throat grip. They'd bite over the esophagus and squeeze and restrict breathing, or take a muzzle grip and go over the mouth and nose and stop their breathing like that and hold on. Where your dog type predators, jackal, wild dog, even that extent hyenas, are a little bit more sort of haphazard in their killing methods. They will grab hold of the animals wherever they can. You'll end up with a lot of teeth marks all over the flanks, all over the ears, as well as the face and the throat, where typically with those throat grips from the cats, you'd have some bite marks around the throat and the neck here, just neat puncture wounds, or possibly over the muzzle. So one of the first things we look at is that sign, and with this old fellow here, this old Cape Bushbuck, he didn't have any marks. You'd typically be able to see them on the throat and the neck, but sometimes they're quite difficult, and it actually requires you to skin it back a little bit, take the skin it back, and look for puncture wounds under the skin, on the inside of the skin against the meat. But on this guy, I can see that there's nothing there. A second way to look is to see how they've been fed on. But this doesn't necessarily mean that it's been killed by a specific animal. Although it may have been eaten in a certain way, it may have been killed by something else. So typically your cats, when they catch something, leopard, lion, so we do have leopard in the area, we do have caracal in the area, and the caracal or the lynx is a big predator of Cape Bushbuck. Bushbuck is one of their favorite prey, and although it appears quite a small animal, the caracal, it's phenomenally strong, and power to weight ratio is fantastic. And they thrive on hunting Cape Bushbuck, males and females. Obviously female bushbuck don't have horns, but the males do.
Hey Dad, I think this is an old ram because it has smooth horns and white on its horns.
A male bushbuck is a formidable prey species. They're very aggressive and can inflict serious injury and will go to any length to defend themselves. And many humans have been skewered by the horns of a Cape Bushbuck, as well as dogs have been skewered and killed. The way a cat normally feeds is from the freshest, nicest meat from the back, which is typically the hindquarter, the rump, and they will feed on the back legs. Sometimes open up and go in and get the liver as well. This scenario, you can see it's been fed on from the back forwards, but that doesn't indicate that it was killed by a cat. But your other predators and scavengers like jackal will also feed on and the shoulders, the leg, depending on how many and how much competition there is amongst the predator or the scavenger, whichever one is feeding on the carcass. Often with the things like jackal and that, you'll see the ribs are chewed up quite a lot as well. Quite a sort of a messy eating scenario. But when there's one individual eating, he won't be as rushed as when there's many individuals eating, because it's a form of competition. They're all trying to get a piece of meat and compete with each other. And in areas also where there's bigger predators, they might lose this food source and want to gulp down as much as they can and kind of tear it apart. My sort of prognosis on this situation here will incorporate one more factor, which is your surrounding and tracks and any other obvious sign. Now, as you can see in here, we're in a riverine thicket here. There's a stream off to the side, and it's very difficult to make out tracks inside here. There's a bit of water down there, and along the mud there are some tracks to be seen, but one thing that one's always got to consider is warthogs. Now, everybody thinks warthogs are strictly herbivorous. That means they only eat plant matter, and that's far from it. Warthogs are very capable scavengers. They're omnivorous. They eat meat as well. They won't necessarily kill, but they will eat carrion, which is meat lying around. And in this case, a lot of the feeding and the moving around and the shuffling is to do with warthogs. You'll find warthogs will come and they'll sniff at it, they'll bite it, they'll drag it, they'll move it. So often a carcass that's being utilized by warthogs and bush pigs, for that matter, the native indigenous bush pig, they will move that carcass around quite a lot, and that whole area becomes quite well worn. You can see on a lot of the trees here, a lot of the sign of where warthogs have been rubbing on trees. That's not because of the carcass. That's typically a warthog thoroughfare through here, with the water and mud wallows. But this just happens to be in their area. They'll smell it, they'll come in and they'll chew on the meat, as well as, and particularly with bush pigs, when the carcass starts to rot, you will find the flies come in and lay eggs, and the maggots will start taking over, and the bush pigs in particular will come and eat the maggots a lot. So in this case, we are going to put a trail camera up here tonight to see who's coming and feeding on this bushbuck. I predict that we'll have two definites on this. We'll have jackal, black-backed jackal, as well as warthogs. But I'm pretty sure that with the trail cameras that we'll put up tonight, we'll pick up some cool video of some nocturnal activity here. The trail cameras are always such fun, as you would have seen in one of my previous videos with hyenas. We use trail cameras a lot, and it opens up a whole new world of nighttime activity and predation, animals in their natural behavior, their unhindered scenarios, and yeah, we'll mount that up on one of the trees here. We'll put it on video mode, and we'll get some infrared night vision footage, and we'll come check it tomorrow and possibly leave it up again. What may happen in a scenario like this, what I would typically do is stake this carcass down so that warthogs are dragging around. The subject doesn't go out of frame. But for the purpose of tonight, I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm going to leave it there, and we've got a pretty good wide field of view on the trail camera, and we will see who comes in and at what times. Just another factor to consider when assessing a situation like this is to remember that animals don't always just get killed by something. Animals get old, and sometimes they wear down their teeth, they can't feed, they die of starvation, they may have a sickness, they may develop something that hinders their health, and they do end up dying. So in a scenario like this, where I can't pick up any noticeable sign of injury from a predator, there is a possibility that this bushbuck, he is an old ram. If you look at him, his horns, he shows good wear on his horns. They've worn down to ivory on some of the rubbing, on the sort of on the curls, on the rubbing points, and his horn tips are broken. He did, the last time I saw him, he did appear in good condition, that he was feeding properly. We are going into winter as well at the moment, so it is pretty cold. and perhaps if he had a sort of a niggling infection or sickness of some sort, it might have just pushed him over the edge. So he wasn't necessarily killed by a predator, but this could have been old age. But regardless, when things die, they do get eaten. So let's just have a look, see who's eating. Doesn't mean it's the culprit, but let's see who's eating. Quite exciting. Some important tips to remember when setting up a trail camera such as this on a scenario to capture something is, are there other predators around, like you would have seen in our other video with lions and hyenas in particular. The trail camera set this obvious, as you can see here off the ground, it's sort of my chest height. A camera set this height is easy pickings for a lion and a hyena. They'll see this, especially that it's sticking out of the tree. Although it's camouflage, they'll pick that up, and they'll come over here and have a good old sniff on it, and a good chance that they'll have a chew on it. Elephants are also sort of major culprits of trail camera destruction. They will smell the camera, they'll smell any human scent on there and pull it off and rip it up, stand on it, really bugger it up. So yeah, where you place it has a lot to do with the predators or the vandalist species in the area. You want a clear path, a clear line of sight to your target, or whatever you're trying to film, whether it be a subject or a pathway. You've got to be very careful of having plants such as this in the firing line of where your camera is trying to take video or photo, because as soon as the wind blows and you get that movement, because these cameras are triggered by motion, you will end up with lots of great footage of bushes and leaves and things swaying around without the subject actually being there, and you'll chew up your battery as well as your memory card in there. So just be very careful of branches, of leaves, of anything in the way, of grass, and clear the area, the site around your subject, and it'll give a good opportunity to be able to see something when it comes in. Often they'll sniff before, especially on a trail. You want to see them coming, going, on a road or a path, and sort of their travel direction. Yeah, and try and mount it straight if possible. You don't want to end up with all cockeye footage sideways, and fix it on pretty tight, whichever way you choose to fix it on. Often they come with straps. You can strap them to a tree. We often wedge something behind to get you the right angle, because the branch that you're tying it off of is at a funny angle. But I do have, apart from straps, a couple of cool devices that I use that help you get it at the angle that you want, fully adjustable. They screw into a tree, and then you can use these little adjusters here to get the angle and the pitch just right, so you can line it up and aim straight at your target. You also want to make sure you get that aiming right, because you don't want to come back with footage of the sky and just the legs of your subject or the head or something like that. So try and line it up as good as possible. The trail cameras have a wide field of view typically. There are many different types of trail cameras, and there are many good ones, many bad ones, but most of them have the general sort of ability to do night vision, black and white footage, got good motion sensors to pick up activity. You can adjust the video length that you want to film. You can put it on photo mode. You can have burst mode, where it takes multiple images at one time upon being triggered, or the length of the video clips themselves and the resolution of the video clips, and it'll record the data on there, such as you've got to input that data first, but data such as the date, the time, the temperature, moon phase, the name of the camera. So often when you're running multiple cameras, you want to be able to identify which camera is showing it was showing what you got that image or that footage from. So all of that is imprinted at the bottom on an info bar. But let's go and leave this for today, and we'll come on check on it tomorrow or the next day and see what's happened. So we're heading out to go and check on that bushbuck from yesterday, and see if anything fiddled with that carcass overnight, and pick up the card from the trail camera, and we'll go home and dump those pictures on the computer or those videos and see what was there. So just letting Conboy take me for a drive and get me out there. I let Conboy work us in here and find it for himself, which he did. The smell was kind of a giveaway. to get it. Anyway, the position of the bushbuck carcass is pretty much in the same place that it was yesterday, which tells me that warthogs have probably been here but haven't spent a lot of time and dragged it around and fed on it. Most of the meat was eaten yesterday, or before yesterday, on the hindquarters, so not much has been left to be eaten, and some stuff has nibbled on it and fiddled around, but I'm sure the trail camera footage will show us somebody coming to sniff but not spending too much time, possibly both jackal and warthog. There's both jackal and warthog tracks in the area here, so let's see what the trail camera says. But it's all fun and always interesting things for the kids to learn and understand life and the ups and downs of the natural world. So but it's not Connor's first time. He's seen this all before, but it's always interesting to share it with him. Hey Conboy. So that's pretty cool. We have a marsh mongoose coming to the... I don't think he was coming to feed, I just think he was inquisitive, and it's on a river system, and he came up to have a look, see what was going on here. But it's pretty cool to... This is exactly the thing about trail cameras, is that you just pick up so much sort of natural, nocturnal, sort of unhindered behavior of animals that you wouldn't normally see. And if we scroll through here, we've got lots of scenes of him. It'd be interesting to see if he actually fed. Oh, he's feeding. Look at that. That's pretty cool. So that's what it's all about. I've never seen marsh mongoose feeding on carrion like this, big carrion. And there he is, tucking in like a little hyena onto this carcass of the bushbuck. How cool is that? So if we just scroll through these other videos here, well, there we go. So apart from the marsh mongoose, we have a little slender mongoose coming in. So we've been visited by the little guys on this occasion. That's cool.